Hello, my friends. Welcome to another Biblioadventure in Vancouver. There is so much going on. Yesterday morning, I went for a nice walk along Cole Harbour, which is on the east side of Stanley Park. Watched lots of float planes landing, and there's lots of yachts there. The trees are in their autumn color. There's this long line of katsura trees. They turn yellow. Their leaves turn yellow. But the cool thing about katsuras are when the leaves fall, they have a sort of burnt sugar smell. And so having this whole long row of trees, there was this lovely scent of sugar in the air. Then we circled back and into Stanley Park. So we saw the rowing club from both sides, across Cole Harbour and then right up in Stanley Park. And there were crows with things to say. And we went over to the gardens, and this is 20th of October, and there's still roses blooming and lots of flowers, geese. Love Stanley Park, just love it. And later on in the afternoon, I went to the Burrard Art Foundation. You might remember that when I talked about Billy Ray Belcourt's novel, A Minor Chorus, I did some investigating about the cover and who was the artist who did the cover. Well, her name is Michelle Sound, and she currently has an exhibit up at the Burrard Arts Foundation, so I wanted to see more of her work. It ends tomorrow, so if you're in Vancouver, you still got one more day. The 22nd is when it ends. The exhibit is called Aunties Holding It Together, and these are large format gray monochrome photographs that the artist has torn and then stitched back together using some modern techniques and traditional techniques like caribou tufting and beadwork and porcupine quills. This close-up is the porcupine quills on a piece called Kokoman Mosum. Michelle Sound is an Indigenous author, and her work captures the loss and the grief, memory, the violence done of such things as settlement, residential schooling, child abductions by the government. A couple of the pieces are show Cree dictionary pages. Language is another thing that has been largely lost. And there's an essay about the artwork that was written by Billy Ray Belcourt. So lots of connection between the artist and that author. Then it's back to Granville Island. There's lots of stuff going on there. I had a lovely little break with a bourbon maple butter tart while I listened to a busker singing French songs. And then the event that Kathy and I went to on Thursday evening was called Short Story Masters. So the three authors in that event are Kim Fu, Alexander MacLeod, and Jonathan Escoffery. And the moderator is also a really good short story author, Caroline Adderson. When she welcomed us, she said, "Welcome short story people, because we have discriminating taste." When Kim Fu was asked about writing in the short story format, she said that prior to writing the short stories that are in her current collection, Lesser Known Monsters of the 21st Century, she was writing a variety of forms all the time, working on a novel, writing essays, writing poetry. And then she read Ted Chiang's Stories of Your Life and Others, and she said that's all she wanted to do was write short stories, and wrote the stories that became this collection, which is shortlisted for the Giller Prize. She described writing a short story as if she was putting together a puzzle, or putting the pieces of a watch back together. And Alexander MacLeod, listening to her, was nodding. Yep. Yes. Alexander MacLeod, who wrote Animal Person, Kathy and I buddy read this together, and we both loved it so much. I've talked about this before. I will keep talking about it. I think it should have won the Giller Prize. So it's pure pleasure. Caroline Addison had a really good summation of it. She described these stories as being about good people in seemingly benign circumstances, yet there's this violence kind of burbling underneath. Yeah. So good. Anyway, Alex said that what he likes about short stories is that they're the best form for intensity, and that they capture intense, mysterious moments in our lives. This book is a good example of that. And what Jonathan Escoffery had to say about the short story format is, he says, it doesn't say on the cover that these are short stories or interlinked short stories, or that it's a novel. And he said the reason is not to trick readers who don't like short stories. It's because it could be any of those things. So if you like interconnected short stories, If I Survive You, that's what this is. I haven't read it yet, but Kathy has started reading it, and she said, Lindy, I think you would like it. And based on what I heard from Escoffery reading from it last night, it does sound like my kind of book. It's set in 1970s Miami, as far as I can tell, and black immigrants. Their son Trelawney is born in the U.S. Yeah, immigrant story. One of the questions that Caroline Addison asked the panelists was, which comes first, the idea or the character? And Kim Fu said, neither. She said, image comes first for her. And she said that's different from a conceptual idea. And Alexander MacLeod agreed that image was really important. What Escoffier had to say is that voice is what carries the emotional truth for him, leading to a final image. One of the things that Kim Fu said that I really identified with is she said that as a reader, she really appreciates when the author trusts her to make leaps. So not spelling everything out. And I really like that too. After the event, Kathy got her book signed. special memories. Yesterday when I was walking in Stanley Park, and I did make a little video of that if you haven't seen it, there'll be a link down below. I was listening to Nightcrawling by Leila Mottley. It's a long audiobook, about 11 hours long, so it was just the tail end of the video because I did finish it. And I liked it. It reminded me of the street lit genre, and I used to read tons of those books. So back in about, I don't know, like 2005, 2006, somewhere in there. The Coldest Winter Ever by Sistah Souljah and Flyy Girl by Omar, Tyree. Those are two that immediately come to mind. Anyway, the aspects of street lit, they're set in working class urban neighborhoods, and drugs and sex work and poverty, music, and trying to make it big in the music world, and that a lot of action happens out on the streets. So all of these elements are there in Nightcrawling. Leila Mottley based this on a true event, scandal with the Oakland police officers taking advantage of teenage girls for sex. And so the author imagined the life of what one of these young women would be like. And Kiara is her, and she is a character who really pulled me through this story. Even there was so much unbelievable stuff happening and things that would make me go, huh? Like she has to decide whether she's going to be able to pay the rent, which has doubled, by the way, or more than doubled, gentrification, or pay the taxes. And because the IRS won't wait. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, she's not working. Or she's doing sex work, but IRS isn't going to be claiming taxes on those. And I was just kind of a little puzzled. Maybe Americans, you can explain this to me. Anyway, and her metaphors are puzzling, I will put it that way. I can give you some examples. Here's a line. I don't sleep, but something behind my eyes rolls over, climbs into itself, and emerges like a newborn baby. I kind of like that sentence, but I have no idea what it means. And here's another section. So Kiara, who is queer, has a friend who's also a sex worker, Camilla, a trans woman, and they're at a party. I'm looking for her. No, she will be taller than most of the room with whatever sparkling shoes she has mounted the length of her onto. She's standing on the patio, arms above her head, twisting her body to the sounds of some other music that probably doesn't exist in this universe. Camilla is more radiant than the bass line of this track can handle. Again, it's intriguing, but I'm kind of missing out on what exactly she means by these metaphors. Regardless, the audiobook is read by Joniece Abbott-Pratt, who does such an excellent job, and I'm glad I listened to it. I did finish another book, and that is one of Kathy's, Murder in the Dark by Margaret Atwood. It is a collection of prose poems, first published in 1983, and this New Canadian Library edition is from 1997. Now, there is a long prose poem in here called Women's Novels, And I'm going to read just a little section about metaphor. She had the startled eyes of a wild bird. This is the kind of sentence I go mad for. I would like to be able to write such sentences without embarrassment. I would like to be able to read them without embarrassment. If I could only do these two simple things, I feel I would be able to pass my allotted time on this earth like a pearl wrapped in velvet. She had the startled eyes of a wild bird. Ah, but which one? A screech owl, perhaps? Or a cuckoo? It does make a difference. We do not need more literalists of the imagination. They cannot read a body like a gazelle's without thinking of intestinal parasites, zoos, and smells. She had a feral gaze like that of an untamed animal. I read. Reluctantly, I put down the book, thumb still inserted at the exciting moment. He's about to crush her in his arms, pressing his hot, devouring, hard, demanding mouth to hers as her breasts squish out the top of her dress. But I can't concentrate. Metaphor leads me by the nose into the maze, and suddenly all Eden lies before me. Porcupines, weasels, warthogs, and skunks. Their feral gazes malicious, or bland, or stolid, or piggy and sly. Agony to see the romantic frisson quivering just out of reach. A dark-winged butterfly stuck to an overripe peach. And not to be able to swallow or wallow. Which one? I murmur to the unresponding air. Which one? Thanks for watching another Biblioadventures. There is more to come. I've got 3 events to attend today, Friday. I don't know how I'm going to manage to blog about it. I will try and do it on the fly. We'll see how that works. See you soon. Bye.